Webcasting from Southeast Kansas, I'm Jonathan Switzer, and this is another episode of this Robotech thing. I want to start off by thanking everybody who commented on the last episode for their words of support in the wake of the tragedy that befell my artwork. I guess that's a preview of the kind of support I can expect if something really terrible happens. And I realized I was remiss in actually, honest to goodness, saying and thanking, despite the fact that I did have to pay them for it, thanking Neil Folks and Jason Waltrip for taking the time to indulge me and do that artwork they provided me. I am incredibly grateful to them. And while I did post up on the previous episode, below the episode, I posted up their current websites, their current blogs, their current projects. I'm also doing that on this episode, so please take a look. See what those guys are doing. One thing I always did on my my old Robotech blog, and during the 3 issues I ran Emissaries, the Robotech fanzine I inherited from my friend Evan Cass. One thing I was always all about was talking about the current work by guys who had worked on the Robotech property in the past. I don't think a lot of Robotech fans who even followed all that stuff, know what they are up to these days. So, definitely take a look in the video description and do check out what they're doing these days. And on that note, we're gonna move on to some Robotech news. So this past Monday, I found the Dynamite solicits for December. And of course, Robotech Voltron #1 was in there. And I finally found out who the artist is. It's a gentleman by the name of Elmer Damaso from the Philippines. Elmer has previously drawn Speed Racer for 7 Seas Entertainment, and he drew the Lego Hero Factory comics for DC Comics. And he has a DeviantArt page, and I have that right below my head right now, and it's also in the description for the episode. And on it, he's got a lot of pictures of Transformers, so he can certainly draw big robots, and he's got a pretty good, very anime-inspired style. Hopefully, this book's gonna look good. Based on the samples of his art I've seen, I think we're in safe hands art-wise. The book's street date. Street date for Robotech Voltron #1 is Christmas. So your local shop will either have it in the day before Christmas, or they'll have it the day after Christmas, because your local shop's not going to be open on Christmas. $3.99 price point, so keeping in line with a lot of the other stuff Dynamite publishes, a lot of the other stuff that the other licensed stuff that you see from a lot of the non-Marvel and DC publishers these days. And it is issue 1 of 5, so we're still doing 5-issue series, just like the last 2 at DC Wildstorm were. So, once again, cautiously optimistic. The description talks about Prince Lotor, talks about the Skull Squadron, so I mean it talks about the stuff that you see on the cover. and it's clearly, you know, going for an alternate universe vibe, because the battle fortress is still on Macross Island when whatever the heck it is happens. So you know, we're talking alternate interpretations of Booby Trap or something, I guess. Hopefully this spirals out into you know, bringing in elements from Die Rugger, bringing in elements from Southern Cross, bringing in elements from Mospita, but we'll see how it goes. December. The other thing I wanted to bring up is there was an article on IO9 back in the very end of August, and I wanted to address it because it was probably pretty well read, as articles on IO9 get. It was sort of a Robotech FAQ by Rob Bricken, who previously wrote an article on IO9 about how Robotech was the greatest romance of the 20th century. He's also the former editor of the Village Voices geek blog Topless Robot, and I think he's an ex-Toy Fair magazine staff member. He used to work at Wizard, you know, and Toy Fair, of course, was the good magazine that Wizard published. You know, it was, you know, you could take it much more as a humor magazine, and, you know, I mean, toy coverage is basically, here, look at the pretty pictures, and here's some captions. So, you know, basically, Bricken is the guy who, you know, if you see a Robotech article on IO9, he probably wrote it. He generally seems to know what he's talking about, except that he referred to Harmony Gold as Carl Masek's company. Now, much like the last episode, you know, here I am, sort of, you know, filling in blanks and correcting, you know, articles on Robotech across the internet. I don't want to be that guy, but I am that guy. You know, I see these things, I go, no, because, as you probably know, but I'm going to say it anyway, Carl Masek was brought on board by Harmony Gold. At the time, he was part owner of a comic book store and was running an animation art gallery. And he had a lot of animation art from Japanese animated programs, including Macross, including Southern Cross, including Mospita. And Harmony Gold initially approached him to acquire some artwork they could use to promote the shows. And he had a lot of knowledge on Macross. You know, he you know, knew about the show, he'd seen the show, he was impressed by the show, he thought the show could be a hit over here. So they, you know, brought him on board from there. And then, of course, when he finished work on Robotech, when he finished work on Harlock, you know, when Sentinels, you know, completely crashed and burned, you know, that's when he went, you know, with this being over, you know, we need to get more of this stuff out here. You know, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out of Japan. And so he founded Streamline Pictures, and he did the English dub of Totoro for Fox, and he did, you know, the English dub of Akira, and it snowballed from there. He brought over Emperor D, brought over Wicked City, brought over Golgo 13, The Professional, and you know, so on and so forth. And you know, he brought over all of these things under Streamline Pictures. Harmony Gold was not his company. Harmony Gold was never his company. Harmony Gold has, as far as I know, always been in the hands of the Agrama family. Currently run by Frank Agrama. So, no, that is the Robotech correction of the day. I hope I don't have to do one of these every episode, but you know, it's always just, you know, headache-inducing when they do crop up. So the big feature for this episode is going to be a discussion of Robotech on DVD, especially considering we've got a new box set coming out November 5th. The question comes up, which version of Robotech should I own? And so I'm going to help you with that if that is a problem that you have. And of course, before we do that, I've got a couple of RoboJunk gets I want to clear out of the queue. So let's cut to that, and then I'll meet you on the other side, and we'll talk about Robotech DVDs. Well, I've got another flat object here. I presume you know what that means. What to expect lurking within. But you have a bit of a surprise here. Again, as always, I know what's in the box. I know what's in the box. You will find out momentarily. Once I figure out how exactly... Look at all the layers of this. You see that? It's like, 4 layers of cardboard or something. It's ridiculous. Okay, alright. I think we're in. It is Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross. Oh, let me see here. Okay. Jean-Francois, a.k.a. Dana Sterling. Now, is this the original? No, that's not. Looks like that's just a blank sheet of gingham paper. This is from the first episode of Southern Cross, which is the second episode of Robotech Masters. False Start. This is actually when Dana is on the lam, and Nova and the GMP goons have got her cornered there. And it's actually the second frame as she's sort of turning to, I think, talk to Nova, and to sort of laugh sheepishly before she gets hauled back away. So that is a nice piece. There is, of course, some line fading. That's to be expected, considering we're talking a piece of animation artwork from 1984 that probably hasn't been in a sort of climate-controlled environment or away from the harsh lights of the world or what. But a nice piece of art of Dana, in her typical uniform. I do have another Southern Cross cell of Dana or Jean, but that's from I think it's from Dana in Wonderland, and she's wearing like the sort of the Robotech Masters robe over her uniform. So I'm really happy to have this piece of her looking much more her usual self. If you actually go back and look at the animation in Robotech Masters or Southern Cross, the character designs, I think, honestly look the best in that first episode. There's just a certain look to them in that episode. And you can see, there's different layers of shading on this one here. Whereas later episodes, even as early as the second episode, the colors are a lot more flat. So this is just a fantastic addition to the collection. I'm really, really happy about this. Really happy. I spotted this when I did, and honest to goodness, when I saw this, I didn't even think. I just went, Southern Cross cell, bam, mine. Dana Sterling, false start. layered shading. Standard uniform.
Maintain a stationary orbit. Robotech will be right back.
Okay, folks, you can see this is a fairly tiny little thing here. Much smaller than the usual things I get that are Robotech related. So let's dig in. Let's see what we got in here. Okay. Ooh. Good thing I was very careful. These are pretty close to the edge there. What this is, it's a thing of stickers. Look at this stuff. This is made in Hong Kong and not recommended for children under 3 years old. This is some vintage stuff. What do we got here? So we got the VF1J in ridiculous colors. We got the Glog Ildair, the Glog with its thruster pack. I have no idea what that is, and it's a robot thing, and you know, very rare that you got a robot thing. I don't know what it is, but I don't know what that is. Let's see. That's a Dunbine right there. That's from Ard Battler Dunbine. That is a Scope Dog Votum. So, 81, no, 82. 82. So they're making Macross older than it really is. 83. Let's see, another Dunbine. That looks, no idea what that is either. That just looks like some dude. Almost looks like a He-Man figure or something. No, it's some kind of dude. Okay, another Dunbine. Gold Lighten, man. He turns into a cigarette lighter. So yeah, that's I want to say 82, maybe 83. I can't remember. I actually can't remember what year Gold Lighten is anymore. That's unfortunate. And Die Rugger. It's Die Rugger 15 from 82. Yeah, 82. So yeah, stickers, man. Looks like the plastic's already sort of opening. I don't know if there's another sheet. No, it's just the two sheets. I'm very tempted to break these open and stick them to things, especially the Macross and the Votum. But yeah, thing of vintage stickers. Funny sticker. Ooh, oh hey, is that? Oh my God, that's John Paul Roshina, isn't it? From Votums. Holy crap! Did not notice that. Wow. Let's see. Jean Paul Roshina. What the hell? Funny stickers. So this has come up a couple of times in the last few weeks. Somebody asking about, so which version of Robotech should I have on DVD? There are so many versions. It's been available in its entirety since 2002. They started releasing the original DVD sets for Robotech in 2001 through ADV Films. And ADV released several iterations of the show on DVD. You know, ranging from individual discs to full generation box sets to the collector's editions with extras to ultimately a big huge box set with everything they'd done. And then, of course, there was the A&E box set 2 years ago, and there's a new one coming out the first week of November. So which one do you, the curious Robotech fan, actually need? Well, that depends on a number of factors. That depends on what is important to you. And moreover, which version of Robotech is important to you. Now, for me, this is my Robotech. And that is why I'm never going to get rid of my ADV Films 2001 to 2002 DVDs. That is the version that aired on television from 1985. Well, probably more like from 1986, but we'll get to that. Through the Cartoon Network run in 1998 to, I think it was still running in 99. But for a lot of people now, this is their Robotech. This is the version that was released by ADV Films and Harmony Gold in 2004, starting in 2004 rather, with a 2-disc set with the first 12 episodes, and continuing through the year in a series of 2-disc sets, ultimately culminating in the release of the Big Blue Box, the Protoculture edition, that brings everything together, that brings, that version of the show and all of these extras discs into one box. And then that version is the one that wound up on Netflix. It's the version that wound up on Hulu. It was the version that Manga Entertainment posted up on YouTube. It was the version that was in the ADV Films box, and it's the version that will be in the Lionsgate box. It is, for the last 9 years, the version of Robotech that people have seen. So the question then becomes, which version of Robotech is your version of Robotech? Now, if you don't want this altered version of the show, this cleaned up, extended, stereo sound effects, recut opening sequences version of the show, if you don't want that, you can, of course, track down all 14 of ADV's individual DVDs. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do that. If you don't care about extras, I would much more recommend tracking down the big brick sets that ADV put out. They put out these big, thick DVD case sets for each of the 3 generations of Robotech. A big, thick Macross set and a less thick Masters and New Generation set. They did this with a lot of their shows back in the early 2000s, back even into the mid 2000s. Robotech was no exception. Those will look nice on your shelf. If you do not care about extras, that's a way to get all of it in, maybe not one fell swoop, but in 3 purchases instead of 14. But I would much more recommend, personally, getting the original Legacy Collection sets. That was 2 discs of the show and one of the extras discs that I just wheeled out here, because there's good stuff on these. There's a lot of good stuff on these. Codename Robotech, which was the premiere of the show, a recut version of Blue Wind and Global's Report with a lot more of the show stuck into Global's Report. This is what originally premiered in Southern California in 1985, back in the spring. So, there's history here. Let's see. This has got some toy commercials on it, and Harmony Gold promotional film about the show, and something else we'll be talking about in a sec. This has got Sentinels, of course, and it has the Sentinels Toy Fair video that Matchbox presented at Toy Fair 1986, which includes some footage that wasn't in the Sentinels movie, and it has some hilariously bad voices. There's really nothing on this one. This one has the Macross pilot. That is Booby Trap, dubbed over a little more closely to the original Macross script. Most of the names are a little bit closer to the Macross names. It's got all the same voice actors, sounding a little more wooden 1 year earlier. So it's an interesting artifact. This has got the Mospita pilot. It's the first episode of Mospita with an entirely different Harmony Gold / Inner Sound cast. Dan Warren, Roy Foker, plays Stig Bernard in this. It's an interesting thing to take a look at. This also has a prototype toy presentation that showcases the Matchbox VF1 vehicle toy, thing over my shoulder here, back when it had a Guardian mode. Makes me weep thinking about that thing. And, this thing's got footage of Robotech Crystal Dreams, the Nintendo 64 video game that never got completed and never got released. It also says it's got Robocon 10 footage on there. It doesn't. They couldn't clear the rights to use that footage, unfortunately. So, false advertising, but hey. So, all good stuff, all useful stuff, all neat stuff, all stuff that a growing Robotech fan needs. So, that's why I recommend, if you really, really want the original version of the show, don't care that it still looks a little janky, that's the version you grew up with. The Legacy collections, to my way of thinking, are the way to go. Now, if remastered is your poison, then you got options. You can still get that entire suite of extras on the Protoculture Edition box, and I was just looking at Amazon. You can get that these days for as low as $35. I didn't look at the condition, but you can get it for a pretty reasonable price. A little below, if not about what you'd spend on the A&E set. ADV, A&E, it's easy to get them mixed up. But, of course, the A&E box set has a different set of extras, and some of them might be tempting. So, here's the A&E set, extras suite. A lot of this stuff was created after all of this came out in 2002, concluded in 2002 rather, and came out for this set. The big one is Carl Masek's Robotech Universe, the documentary. Now, this is being supplanted / supplemented by a new Robotech documentary, Robotech the Inside Story, that will premiere on the Lionsgate Robotech box set that comes out in November. Thing about Carl Masek's Robotech Universe is, as I understand it, it began life as a series of interviews for some web extras. It took on a new life of its own after Carl Masek's passing. and ultimately premiered with this box set 2 years ago. It looks like a set of web extras. It's a bunch of talking heads with a really janky chroma key background that looks like something out of the 1980s. There's a lot of interesting information in there, but it's very cursory. It's very surface level. There's some individuals in there I was very interested in hearing talk about Robotech. Cam Clark, for one. I hadn't heard him talk about Robotech before. If you haven't been to any conventions or events where the Robotech voice actors have shown up, it is probably more interesting for you. But I have more than a few times now. Well, only a few times because I live out in Kansas. But enough times that some of the stuff was kind of old hat to me. But it's a thing worth having if you decide the A&E box set is the way to go. The next thing on the list on the back here is Robotech music videos. I just took a look at those. They tried to do sort of a Japanese style karaoke thing with them, but the timing is all bad on the lyrics. They sing the lyrics before they appear on the screen. It's kind of bad. Not really worth the shout out. New to DVD. It's kind of poorly done. Robotech overview. I haven't looked at that. I don't need a Robotech overview. Alternate versions of select Robotech episodes. This is why I said the versions you see on the ADV discs are probably circa 1986 and onward, because during the first airing of Robotech, they hadn't finished all of the music tracks they would use for the show yet. So they put in the music tracks that they had, and there's a lot more music-free sequences. This had been one of those, I wouldn't go so far as to say holy grails, but it's something I'd been interested in for years, actually seeing these versions of the show. And it is interesting to watch them after seeing the later version of the show so many times. The problem with those as presented on this box set is it's like looking at somebody's homemade DVD. They didn't do anything to properly edit these apart. Editing seems to be a problem for Harmony Gold. I took issue with some of the edits in Robotech Live Alive. I took issue with the edits in this box set's version of Sentinels, and I take issue with the fact that they did nothing to make good edits on this version of those versions of the Robotech episodes. It's just like they, got some guy's home video recordings of that version of Robotech and just let it go and then dumped it on the DVD. But it's still interesting to have. Robotech the Movie Supplementals. A version of Robotech the Movie The Untold Story that is the opening sequence, the end credits, and in between all of the Southern Cross footage from Robotech the Movie The Untold Story. Which is a weird thing to have, but it is more than was presented on these extras. So, it's something. It's all we're going to get until they sub-license it for the Megazone 2-3 from whoever has the rights to Megazone 2-3. Let's see. And then, of course, there's the remastered version of Robotech 2 The Sentinels, which spruces up the picture quality, includes all of the visual iconography of the remastered version of Robotech, including an ending text scroll explaining the departure of the SDF-3 to the homeworld of the Robotech Masters, and has the aforementioned bad edits to remove all of the Macross Saga footage, the flashbacks and other ancillary footage that was in there. from the program. And then finally, the Macross original pilot full version. Back in 1984, Harmony Gold released the first 3 episodes of Macross on home video. And they only include the first one on the old extras discs. So this set has the full $40 1984 home video version. So, and then on top of that, they've got footage from the video games that came out after these sets. I think Battle Cry is covered in here because it was coming out around the same time. But you got Invasion and the new generation cell phone game footage. But for all that new stuff, there are 2 things missing that were on this, which is why you have to weigh your options here. You have to think, okay, do I want all that stuff, or do I want Codename, the premiere of Robotech, which has a Carl Macek commentary track. Carl Macek passed away between here, and yet a video release that has his commentary on the creation of Robotech is left off of this set. Think about that one. The other thing is a local Southern California chat show called Point of View. That was the other thing on this disc that I didn't mention earlier. It's Carl Macek in 1986 talking to this large, older, stately-looking gentleman about Robotech and about Robotech Movie: The Untold Story and the production of Robotech and everything. The older gentleman is talking like Harmony Gold created all the animation and Carl Macek created all of this, and Carl sort of tries to say talk about the Japanese animation and everything, and eventually he just sort of gives up and lets the guy yes we're so wonderful, okay. It's definitely worth a watch, because you can sort of see Carl's sort of okay, I'll play along, but think about that. That's two things of Carl Macek speaking about Robotech that's in this older box set, the older box sets that they left off of the A&E set after his passing. How weird is that? That's a very strange thing. So, you have to do that calculus for yourself. Which suite of extras appeals more to you? I split the difference. I got both. When I could get the A&E set for a song, because I really wanted those alternate cuts of the early episodes of Macross Saga, and I wanted to watch Carl Macek's Robotech Universe. Now, the things that are going to be added in the new set, you get everything that's on here, and then you get Shadow Chronicles, and then you get Love Live Alive. And then you get the making of Love Live Alive. You get the Japanese version of Love Live Alive with all of the Mospita songs. And all the footage they didn't use. And you get Robotech The Inside Story. Parts of which Harmony Gold premiered at Nondescon this past weekend. And that and having Love Live Alive, the Japanese version, would be the things that would entice me towards that. But again, since I have all of this, it's not that enticing. I'd say if you're mulling over the A&E box set, I'd say wait. I'd say wait until the end of November, see if somebody has the Lionsgate box set on a good sale. If you'd rather have Codename, and you'd rather have the little points of view thing, and the original cut of Sentinels, find a copy of the Protoculture edition. That's the calculus to me. I don't know if they're going to restore Codename, and if they care enough to put Points of View, the Points of View chat show, in the Lionsgate set. Because I was thinking about it, I wonder if the Lionsgate set isn't just a repressing of the A&E set, plus Shadow Chronicles, plus Love Live Alive. Maybe they're redoing the Love Live Alive disc with, you know, the making of, or with the Japanese one on it, and then with one disc extra that includes Robotech the Inside Story and something else. Robotech, the extra disc with Robotech the Inside Story would actually be a good one to put Codename on. But, you know, we just don't know. They haven't given us a detailed list of what's on that disc. They've just said, you know, here's the new stuff, and then everything that's on all the earlier discs, sets. You know, okay. Everything that's been on all the earlier sets, or everything that was on the previous set, and we're just forgetting that Codename was in there. I don't know. We'll find out down the road. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found that useful. I hope that made sense. Because it's really up to you. What do you need? I've gone over what's in everything, and now it's down to you, the consumer, to decide. Okay, that's the configuration I want. So that's the show. If you want to get a hold of me in the interim, follow me on Twitter. There's the show email. I've actually been checking it, turning it upside down, shaking it, lint falling out, so please send me emails. If you don't want to do that, I have made the show a Tumblr blog, which I'm posting random Robotech junk onto 5 days a week. And all the new episodes are going to be showing up there. And over time I'm also going to, post up all of the old shows for folks who haven't been watching since I started this last year. So, thisrobotechthing.tumblr.com, take a look at that. Please enjoy the rambling there. And, hopefully that will keep you amused and distracted until the new episode comes out. I will certainly be able to think of something in the next month or so to talk about them. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. This is Captain JLS, signing off.
Sir, with that module in his power, he might be able to sabotage all of our military programming. Maybe even change the access code and regain control of the computer.
You're to find Embry and eliminate him once and for all. I'll have his head, or by God, I'll have all of yours.
Yes, sir.